November 16th, like you said, about 10 days ago, Altman gets a text on Thursday night.
Yeah, Sam Altman is out as CEO of OpenAI. We just got this announcement.
And then they immediately reportedly contacted CTO Mira Murati.
Will be the interim chief executive officer.
Sam Altman had wanted to just push forward in shipping product, and Ilya Sutskever wanted to put the brakes on for whatever reason with respect to AI safety. The overwhelming majority of OpenAI's 700 plus employees, they basically signed an open letter urging the board to resign, saying they would quit if its members didn't.
How do you develop that level of loyalty across an organization? We're not talking about a small startup with 15, 20 people, 700 individuals.
The latest we have is a statement that OpenAI says that it's come to a deal in principle for Altman to return as CEO.
All right. So a lot has happened at OpenAI in the last, 10 days or so. Since we last recorded, they were closed AI, and now I think they're back to being open AI. What's going on, Nikos? What's developed since then?
Okay, so what's interesting is that it seems that Sam Altman has gone kind of full boomerang on this. But before we get into that, I thought that it would help our listeners if we just give kind of like a brief timeline of events. So I'll do that just very briefly. So this was November 16th, like you said, about 10 days ago. Altman gets a text on Thursday night from one of the co-founders asking him to join this Google Meet on a Friday. And then they immediately reportedly contacted CTO Mira Murati to tap her to be the next OpenAI CEO. On the 17th, Microsoft is thrown for a loop, right? Finding out a minute before the world does. That's from an Axios report. Then OpenAI releases the statement that Sam Altman will be leaving the company after a deliberative review process by the board, and that Greg Brockman will be stepping down as chair as well. Then Brockman announces that he's leaving. Come November 18th, Microsoft releases a statement saying, hey, we have a long-term partnership with OpenAI, and Microsoft remains committed to Mira and their team as we bring in this next era of AI to customers. Then an internal memo came from the COO, Brad Lightcap, on the firing of Altman, that it was not the result of malfeasance or anything like that, or security or privacy practices. And then Microsoft announces that it's hired Altman and Greg Brockman to lead a new research unit. So plot thickens there. Fast forward to November 20, OpenAI announces another interim CEO, Twitch co-founder Emmett Shear. Right after that, the overwhelming majority of OpenAI's 700 plus employees, they basically sign an open letter urging the board to resign, saying they would quit if its members didn't, which was kind of like the Hunger Games solidarity symbol, right? Like, we are with you. That was happening on social when Sam Altman said, I love you guys so much. I love OpenAI so much. And then everybody, the 700 plus employees, kind of announced their solidarity with him. And then on November 20, OpenAI chief scientist Ilya Sutskever publicly says that he deeply regrets his role in Altman's firing. And then OpenAI releases ChatGPT with voice to unpaid users, showing that the organization continues its work. So it continues to ship product, which is interesting, right? And then Mira Murati, who was briefly the acting CEO, shared a photo with Brockman, Altman, others, and herself at Altman's house with the caption, still working on it. So obviously there have been a lot of things going on in terms of coming to a resolution. Satya Nadella came on, obviously, on Bloomberg and Tech Week, announcing that no matter where Sam and Greg go, he is there for the partnership. So we know a lot is happening behind the scenes, but the latest we have is a statement that OpenAI says that it's come to a deal in principle for Altman to return as CEO. So the board will be chaired by a former Salesforce co-CEO, Brett Taylor. So obviously things continue to evolve. We might, go another week and something brand spanking new will happen again. Who knows what will happen? But this was by far the biggest news in tech all year, after OpenAI had released GPT 3.5 and GPT 4. It continues to rock the tech space. Obviously, there are a lot of underpinnings and lots of other issues with respect to AI alignment, whether or not it's aligned with human flourishing, AI safety and security. And underpinning all of this, what we have to note is that, think about the company's goals. The company's goals is for artificial general intelligence, right? And we have to talk about that as well. But for now, that's the timeline. That's kind of the latest and greatest from OpenAI, but it's truly rocked everyone in tech. And I continue to be definitely at the edge of my seat, trying to await what happens next, as it's causing ripple effects and continuing to cause ripple effects throughout the industry.
Or let's make a prediction. Should we? Should we make a prediction? I mean,
Sure.
what can happen at this point, right? He's back, right?
Sure.
Some of the board members are leaving. I think everyone except one.
Totally.
I mean, what else can happen at this point, right? What do you think?
Right. So let's talk about what kind of what deals are in place as a result of kind of the chips falling where they may, right? So you have a governance issue. So you're talking about the control of the board itself. And to my understanding, two board members have stepped down or are about to step down, including Ilyas Itskever, right? So nothing has been finalized yet, but he was the supposed ouster from OpenAI's perspective, which was my initial perspective or assumption in thinking that Sam Altman had wanted to just push forward in shipping product, and Ilyas Itskever wanted to put the brakes on for whatever reason with respect to AI safety. I think the company is much closer to AGI than they led on to believe, that to let the public to believe. But that's a whole other situation. So you have a governance issue that's up in the air. So you have board seats that are tied with that. You have the actual equity shares that are within the private entity, and then you have the business structure itself, which remains to be some combination hybrid of a profit or a nonprofit, right? The nonprofit owning the for-profit capped entity. So my assumption is that that's all going to be restructured, right? And in my opinion, the chips may fall toward Microsoft um, leverage. And the reason why I think that is because Satya Nadella is an avid negotiator, and he said he was willing to do this either way, no matter where Sam Altman or Greg Brockman landed. But I believe that the lawyers are going to be circling the sharks, and the vultures are going to be circling. All the partners are going to be circling. We know what happened with all of the talent. And there were even some letters, and now this is all still speculation, when Elon had posted that during a tumultuous time within the company, Sam Altman had launched investigative reports, potentially pushing initial researchers out of the company. And it again was tethered within the misalignment between the for-profit entity and the nonprofit that wanted AI alignment for humanity itself. So we're looking at some pretty significant conflicts of interest internally, and so those tend to be the pieces that are still falling into place with respect to the structure, governance, equity, and of course all of the countless partnership opportunities that OpenAI has signed with their respective ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, right? It has everyone at the edge of their seat, especially because it's a space that already is something that has changed the way we live, work, and play. And this company is on the forefront of bringing us this technology. Uh, what would you say is the biggest lesson so far in this saga for you personally?
Well,
I'm sure
there's
there are
the
many.
leadership. Yeah, there are many. So I tend to divide it between the leadership principles and the business principles. In terms of the leadership principles, this reestablishes a well-known principle around 100% alignment at the core founding level, and making sure, and this is just a softball for what we want to get into today, which is around the alignment of your mission and your vision and purpose with the company's profits, and having to actually conduct business and which is the lifeblood of your company, right? Which is sales. And so from a business perspective, I look at that as the need for explicit alignment. And then from a leadership perspective, it's interesting to see that Sam Altman, in what he's established, both from kind of a personal evangelism and a platform standpoint, to the camaraderie and what he's been able to do in terms of rallying his own troops. So loyalty, vision, and leadership comes from that courage. It comes from that innovation. It comes from that vision. And you also need to balance that with, of course, the safety and security of humanity. But that's kind of what's mind blowing about all of this, is that people will follow that courage, people will follow that vision. But what we don't know is how aligned these leaders have been in terms of making sure that that initial vision is completely lined up with AI safety and security. So lots of lessons to be had here for sure.
Yeah, how many employees signed that petition threatening to leave the company unless they brought him back?
It was 90%, so 700 out of 750 or so.
That's just, I mean, to me, when I read that, I thought I would love to find out on a daily basis, what is he doing, right, as a leader of an organization, to be able to really align yourself as a leader with the company, with the team, to the point wherein 90% sign a petition saying, unless he's brought back, we're leaving this company, is just phenomenal. I mean, it's such a great lesson on leadership, right? How do you develop that level of loyalty across an organization? Because clearly he's not interacting with 700 people, right? Yes, they know him, but I mean, that's a large organization.
Totally.
And yeah, we're
as
not
it
talking about a
started-
small startup with 15, 20 people. We're
Oh, yeah.
700 individuals. I mean, at this point, he doesn't know everyone's names, right?
For
Those
sure.
people who signed that petition.
Yeah. And then obviously there's some complexity around the business structure itself, right? So I've been exploring the different types of business structures, not only from a for-profit perspective, but also from a nonprofit perspective. And we can talk about that, just because it's really interesting to talk about a business structure, because if you have a for-profit company and your all mission, it may not be conducive to a product market fit, right? Or if you are a nonprofit with very, very audacious goals like OpenAI was, please note that it was, started in 2015 by Elon Musk and Sam Altman and Greg Brockman as a nonprofit research lab only. And their mission was to develop AI tools for the benefit of humanity, which is unconstrained by the need to generate financial returns. But guess what happened 3 years later? Elon Musk drops out of the board. He no longer wants to fund it. And he was in the pot. He was pot committed about 40-50 million, right? So that's no small chunk of change there, right? And then after Elon's departure and facing the high cost of AI development, OpenAI somehow knew that you needed to introduce a for-profit arm and actually start to raise some money here, right? So this essentially created the dichotomy, which is what we're seeing today within the company. One group adhering to the original mission of serving humanity, and then another pushing for rapid commercialization. So obviously it's coming to a head, which is why it's evolving and materializing the way that it is right now.
Absolutely. So we'll continue to keep an eye on developments on this story. So stay tuned as this saga unfolds.
Thank you for tuning in to Emergence Now, where we explore the emerging trends, technologies, and ideas that are shaping our world today for you to discover yourself. We hope you enjoyed this episode and gained valuable insights that you can apply in your own life. If you want to stay up to date with our latest episodes, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media, where we share additional content, engage with our community, and keep the conversation going. Thanks again for listening to Emergence Now, and we hope you'll join us for the next episode.